Hey, you all are journalists, so luckily you understand. Today's panel is about confidence. I really wanted to do a panel on this because I feel like it's all something we can always work on that evolves, especially in this industry. Confidence is the key to being great both on air and in the field, off air. And we have such amazing panelists and a moderator. Thank you all so much for being here today. They all hold a special place in my heart, and I'll explain why. First off, we're going to start with Errol Barnett. We met during an NABJ conference. He was doing a panel actually about breaking news, and he took a few moments after to speak with me, and he said something that stuck with me, saying, know what you're going to say in the beginning and the end and the middle, whatever comes out will come out. And that actually has really helped me during breaking news scenes. So let me go ahead and read Errol's bio here. Errol Barnett is a CBS News transportation correspondent based in New York and Washington, D.C., reporting for all CBS News broadcasts and platforms. At CBS News, Barnett's intrepid reporting has covered a wide variety of national and international events. Next, we have Debra Alfarone. She is my coach and mentor. I have been watching her since she worked at WUSA 9 when I was a reporter at my first station. Love her so much. Debra is an Edward R. Murrow and Emmy Award-winning TV anchor and reporter who's expertly delivered breaking news for the last dozens of years for TV stations in New York City and Washington, D.C., now as a correspondent for CBS News and Newspath. Her reports can be seen all across the country. Next, we have Chris Miles, who I also met right before an NABJ conference. Actually, we met at the airport. I was a young journalist at my first TV station, and he took the time to speak with me, which meant so much. So Chris Miles is a studio host and play-by-play announcer for NBA TV. Previously, he worked for almost a decade as a host and reporter for NBC Sports Washington, NBC4, and 106.7 The Fan in Washington, D.C., and Atlanta, and NBC Sports in Washington, D.C. Lastly, here but not least, we have our moderator, Marissa Mitchell. She is my co-worker. I am lucky to call her one. She is amazing. Be sure you watch Fox 5, Good Day DC. She starts early in the morning, around like 4 a.m., right, Marissa?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, that's really early, but tune in. She's amazing. Marissa Mitchell is an Emmy-nominated and award-winning journalist at Fox 5 DC. Marissa worked as an anchor reporter in her hometown at Fox 5 Atlanta. She reported during the day and co-anchored the station News Edge at 11 on weekend nights. She spent a few months solo anchoring Good Day Atlanta on weekends, where she was nominated for Best Anchor by the regional Southeast Emmy chapter. So again, thank you all so much for taking the time. You all have such busy schedules. We are so lucky to hear from you and your experiences. And those of you who are joining in, make sure you take advantage of them. Think of questions to be asking them. During this time, be sure to put them in the chat. And during the last 10, 15 minutes of this panel, Marissa will read them out loud and give you the chance to ask your question, and they'll answer them. So Marissa, now I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you all so much again.
What a fantastic introduction. I mean, for all of us on breaking news, on top of that, Sierra, you win. Thank you so much for inviting us. I think this is an awesome topic. Couldn't come at a better time. So I'm glad we can jump right in, and I want to do that. For me, when you want to get to the how of something, you have to start with the why. And so I want to begin by asking all three of you, and we'll start with Debra, Errol, and then Chris. Why did you decide to get in this industry that can be so demanding, that can be so competitive? Because some would argue it took a lot of confidence to do that. So take us back to the why, Debra.
How much time do you have, Marissa? Okay, in the interest of, well, because I want to hear from Chris and Errol and everybody. So I'm going to tell you, it wasn't confidence. I was naive. Okay. I also had something to prove. My story is such that I work now at CBS, and I was a high school dropout as a kid. And so I had something to prove in my life. And I said, I'm going to pick the hardest thing in the world. I'm going to get into it. Ha, ha, ha. And it was hard. It is difficult, but I naively thought, oh, this should be easy. I'm just going to make phone calls and say, hey, you know, could I come in and interview with you? And I'd like to be a journalist. And you know what? I got a lot of hangups, a lot of no. I got more no's than I ever got yeses. But, you know, along the way, I knew that this is my passion and my purpose. But not even my passion, this is my purpose. My purpose is to tell the stories of the people who also maybe have a story to tell and just, you know, weren't able to, like I was. I think because I had a tough childhood and was a high school dropout, that connected me to people in a way that I needed to tell the story of the single mom, the person who's out of jail and, you know, is looking for a job and finding it difficult, the person with a disability, the sex trafficking victim. Like that was the kind of stuff I was like, this is the kind of stuff I'm going to do. I just identified with people who were going through it. And so I would like to say confidence, but Marissa, it was me being naive. I was like, I need to do this and I'm going to do this. And I was like, oh, this is hard.
All right. Errol.
Well, I would say similar to Debra's story, journalism presented itself in my life at a time of incredible personal hardship. My family had just moved to the US from England, where I'm originally from. My sister had tragically passed away. My parents then divorced. And that was when I was just getting into high school. And so being someone who looks and sounds as I do, and I went to high school in Phoenix, Arizona, I stood out like a sore thumb. And I got so many questions about, where are you from? And how'd you move to the US? At a traumatic time in my life. So what I realized is that turning things around and asking people about themselves, asking them questions about where they're from and what their background is, actually became a deflection technique for me. But in doing that, I discovered all sorts of interesting and fascinating things about people in my high school. I had my own high school TV show, and it was an elective. It was an easy A, but it ended up being the thing that the teachers were saying, Errol, you know, you have a kind of a skill here. Why don't you see if you can pursue this? I was then extremely fortunate enough to have an opportunity as a teenager to work at a place called Channel 1 News, which was a news program that went out to schools across the country. And that was incredibly intimidating, but validating at the same time. And so similar to Debra, I took something, it came to me at a moment of incredible personal difficulty, but I realized that if I didn't make it, if I didn't make it about myself, if I focused on the person I was interviewing, all of a sudden, all these doors and opportunities opened. And so similar to like saying, I didn't really have the confidence, I was just doing something I was interested in, and things developed for me from there.
We'll get deeper into that. All right, Chris.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Good to meet everyone. Good to be on this panel. My confidence comes from kindergarten, first grade. You know, when everyone has to read out loud in school. And I remember being in the first grade and everyone would kind of be shy to do it. And I was always the first one to raise my hand. And I always felt like when I did it, there was a power in it. And all of the other kids would be like, oh, Chris is good at this. So when I played basketball in high school, we were #1 team in the country. I thought, okay, I'm going to be a pro. Until it was time to get recruited in Manhattan College and St. John's. I met with the coaches and they were like, look, you don't get enough playing time to be a college athlete, let alone a professional athlete. And I realized, okay, I have to do something to be involved with sports for the rest of my life. What is that going to be? What am I good at? And I was always good at ad-libbing. I'd been on the debate team. I'd spoken for scholarship foundations in high school for underprivileged youth, as they labeled us. So it just was a natural career choice. And from the start of the first opportunity I got to be in front of a camera, I've been in front of one since. So I think that was 2002, and this is now 2021. So 19 years strong.
All right. Well, I started at the beginning because if you are listening closely, and I have my notepad, take your notes, tweet your notes, whatever, some great quotes here, because even in what you all said, you talked about confidence, right? I know Debra, Errol, you said it came with time. So once you're in the industry, tell me about some of the things that challenged your confidence and what confidence even looks like when you're in it. And Errol, I'll start with you.
I remember during my first reporting job at Channel 1 in LA, it was it was overwhelming because I went from doing what I was comfortable doing, which was interviewing people on my high school set, interviewing a teacher or another student. It was very easy. But when I got this official job, I was on a set with a teleprompter, a lot of highly paid people around me waiting for me to get this take. And what I realized was the more I worried about getting something wrong, getting a word wrong, moving wrong, the more I was shrinking away and becoming less of myself. And so the turning point for me was getting feedback. I think I would encourage everyone to always seek feedback, and don't always do it from friends or family. Seek feedback from someone who has no incentive to say anything nice to you, because eventually you'll get a little closer to the truth. And what I realized was the more comfortable I was, the better the delivery was on camera, the better the speaking tone was when I was tracking, and the more you can connect with a viewer who's watching. And so for me, it was kind of realizing the connection between the doubt and the self-doubt that can make you shrink, and the empowerment from being yourself. So that's one thing I really want to emphasize for everybody watching, which is that all the things that make you unique, make you a little different, make you special, hang on to that. Because in the end, that's what will help you stand out.
Debra, how did you find it?
Yeah, Errol and I are kind of like walking the same line here. I feel the same way about that doubt. I feel like confidence, people might be looking at us and thinking, oh, I really like that job, or you guys are, doing the thing, right? You're doing it. Confidence is not like this. It goes, it's not a straight line up. And there are days when I'm not confident, and I have to have a practice, because people will say to you, as you ask people for advice, you'll look at your reel and say, oh, you need to be more confident, but how do you do it? Well, I have to feed myself a steady diet of positivity. I cannot let the negative come in. And that sometimes we don't even realize the negative. We don't realize the negative script that's playing in our head. And I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. I stand at the White House and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are brilliant. They know so much. How the heck did I get here? That happened to me in the beginning. And I thought, okay, but they're not me. Sure, this person here knows a lot about policy, and this person has a lot of, experience, but I come to it with what I bring intrinsically. And so I have to tell myself that I have worth because I am, just because I'm breathing. And that's enough. And like sometimes, the better that you do, obviously it's like momentum, right? You do a great live shot, you're feeling good. You'll do the next one and you're going to ace it. But in the beginning, sometimes you just have to tell yourself, I am, and that's enough. And I tell lots of my mentees and clients, because I coach people all the time, listen, you are the only you there is, and it will ever be. That's kind of how I get my confidence, just from knowing that the universe doesn't make mistakes, and I'm here for a reason.
That's one thing too that I've done throughout the course of my years in the industry, owning my strengths. You're not going to be great at everything, right? There's always room for improvement, but look at what makes you uniquely different, what stands out, and pour into that thing. And you both kind of mentioned taking, at least for me, the criticism and also the praise with a grain of salt. You've heard there's a thin line between love and hate. People who love you today can hate you tomorrow, and vice versa. And so I always try to take what I can that's constructive, and then throw the rest away. And I think with comparison, that's huge. We'll get into that in a bit, but it's probably even harder now with social media because it's always there, right? Even if you think you've done a good job. Errol, you were confident going into it. You had, your dream kind of laid out and followed that purpose and that path. But I'm sure you had your own fight when it came to maintaining confidence.
Well, just from being who I am, having this accent that I have. I mean, when I got that first reporting job, I counted myself very lucky and fortunate. The network hired a vocal coach who helped us kind of find ways to, breathe like singers and have a voice that can project. But I also got plenty of viewer mail. Remember, Channel 1 was a program that went out to high schools and middle schools. I got viewer mail about my accent being fake and about how there are no Black people in England. I got that on a regular basis. And in many ways, it made me, I went from feeling so accepted to then feeling so rejected. And I look back on it though, and think that was actually pretty good for me, because this industry and choosing a path where you're on camera, you're an anchor, you're a correspondent, you are putting yourself out there. You have to be ready for everything that comes with it. And I know we'll talk about having thick skin, but we are human. Those things will hurt you. It is normal to be weighed down by constant insults and negativity. And to Debra's point, that's why you have to feed yourself with the positivity. That's why you have to really, seek out people who will give you constructive feedback. And that doesn't mean telling you you're great. It just means telling you, look, this is where you could be stronger. And it's not easy. We're all human. It will bring you down. But you're right. If you choose this career path, you have to really focus on mental health and self-care because you deserve it.
Yeah, I'm all about journaling and daily affirmations. It helps those reminders as well as goal setting, because I think often we don't look at what we have overcome. And sometimes when you set a goal and you meet that goal and you look back and know that you did it, that gives you the confidence to continue to move forward. So that's an important tip there. All right, Chris, how about you?
Well, I could break it down this simply. The more prepared I am, the more confident I am. And I think every day that you go into work, sometimes it could get mundane. It's the same thing. You might be covering the same beat. You might anchor the same show and you think, okay, I got this. This is easy. But at some point, something unexpected is going to happen. Like if you look at what's going on with Sierra right now, she's covering breaking news. And for me, that's happened several times, whether it was the players deciding to boycott while we were doing a pregame show. We had to be live for 4 hours and it had nothing to do with sports. That's breaking news. Well, if I hadn't been prepared and reading every quote that every player had said before they decided to boycott, I wouldn't have been able to have the ability to ask the proper questions at that time. So the confidence for me comes from always being prepared. Meaning if I'm going to do a live shot, if I'm going to host a live show, how many times have I done that? Thousands of times in my career. But this time, I know that anything could go wrong. And when that happens, how prepared am I? So I always go back to my very first live shot. I went into it actually overconfident. I was at a high school baseball state championship in West Virginia as my first job. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. And I was awful. I stuttered. I didn't get to the video on time. I didn't say the right players' names. And I told myself that will never happen again. And indeed, it has not happened again.
Wow. The late, great Kobe Bryant said that too. If you practice a thing enough, when it comes time to do it on the court, it's in front of a lot of people, but you're just doing the same thing you've been practicing. So preparation is certainly key. And I would even argue facing your fears. I know a lot of times we run from being out of our comfort zone. And for me personally, we were talking right before this started. I'm originally from Atlanta. And I was anchoring and reporting there, but I wanted a main anchor job. And I wasn't able to get that opportunity at my station at the time. And I knew that I had to step out of my comfort zone to advance my career. And coming here in DC, it's been a little over a year now. I've learned so much. You never get to a point in your career where you stop learning. And I think because I'm out of my comfort zone and I faced my fear, I'm a stronger journalist. And so it's not just professional, but there's the personal stuff too that plays into the professional that I think just makes you a stronger and a better person and able to take on various challenges. So imposter syndrome. We had this listed in the blurb right off the top, and you see it on social all the time. And it's essentially feeling like you don't maybe deserve an opportunity that in fact you do, that you've worked hard for, you've earned it, but you get into a position or a certain space and you still don't necessarily feel worthy.
Thank you, thank you. You put that right on the ground.
Hi, Nakia. Your mic's up. Nakia Simon's joining us. But I want to know, have you all, it's okay, thanks for joining. I want to know, have you all dealt with imposter syndrome, even at your levels, and how do you handle it? Chris, Debra, and then Errol.
Well, I think I had to really think about that for a while. In fact, I had to look it up before this panel to know exactly what it was. And I'll say this, that's actually something I battled recently. And in sports broadcasting, I think the hardest thing to do is to be a play-by-play announcer. As you noticed on my bio, that's the newest thing. And when COVID hit and sports stopped for 3 or 4 months, I had to redirect and say, okay, how am I getting better every day? And what I did is I sat down with my agent and I said, hey, can we practice play-by-play? This is something that I never thought I was good enough to do. And I guess that's the imposter syndrome part of it, is that it was too difficult. That's just a level that I didn't think that I could ad lib for 3 hours long watching a game and just no teleprompter, no script, reacting to the action. Well, I practiced for 2 years, and this summer I started calling games for the NBA at Summer League, and I felt so comfortable and so confident that I wondered, why didn't I do this 15 years before? Why didn't I do this 10 years before? I was too afraid and not confident enough. So if anyone's listening right now and thinking, I don't know if I would be a good anchor, you don't know until you put the practice. You don't know until you try as hard as you can. And for me, that's probably the most recent imposter syndrome that I've overcome.
That is impressive. You know, I remember the first impeachment of President Trump. And I was like, ooh, I hope I know enough about this. And then I got assigned, okay, you're going to be doing the overnights. I'm like, ooh, okay, I better get smart on this. I wanted to do it. It was a big deal at the time. And I thought, this is very important. And I need to learn everything I possibly can. So just like Chris, I was like, we're going to watch every documentary, read every article we can find, every book, everything I could possibly get my hands on. And so I'm with you on, you know, you really got to create that label for yourself. But I've definitely had imposter syndrome. I was a local news reporter. I was not a White House reporter. I was not a political junkie. So when I was here, I was in DC, I came here to do local news. And when I left my last job and then came to CBS, I was like, oh, I've never really done a heavy politics before. So I definitely had that imposter syndrome. And I know that the way I define, and everyone's got a definition for it, but I define imposter syndrome as that your thoughts, like these thoughts that you have about yourself, are standing in the way of what you could become. There's a difference between where you are and where you want to go. And then there's this big brick wall, and those are your negative thoughts. And they're thoughts that really don't feed you. It's like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not good enough. That person knows more than me. Ooh, I'm not a political reporter. Even those words, I'm not a political reporter, would stand in my way. So I had to get rid of them entirely and just say, okay, if I was a political reporter, what would I do? And then just do those things. And when that came up in my head, go, no, not today, Satan, not today. You're not going to be saying that to yourself today. One other thing I wanted to say, Marissa, I just loved when you said that you wanted to move to DC because you wanted to do anchoring every day, but it was you getting out of your comfort zone. And that was a personal thing. You know, I really connect to that because when I knew I wanted to go further in my career, there was something that was standing in my way that had nothing to do with anything. It was personal. I never could swim. Like I never learned how to swim as a kid. My mom didn't know how to swim. I didn't know how to swim. And I thought, okay, how can you go out and report across the country on things and have something that doesn't make any sense that you're fearful of? And I thought, this is a fear that's not founded. How can you be small about that? And so I took a class and learned how to swim with 6 other adult women in the class here in DC. I feel like all those little things that you're uncomfortable about can help you in your career. You owe it to yourself to do those things, to get out of your comfort zone. And I know that wasn't about imposter syndrome, but I just had to share that because I know everybody on this probably has something somewhere that they're uncomfortable about asking or doing, and do those things. Face that fear because you got to do it in this business. And so it's just little stepping stones.
And I'm going to actually, after I get you on this, Errol, I'm going to go to some of the questions because we are starting to get some of those in. But I do want to add on to what you just said, Debra, about facing your fears. That's part of the experience building for me, similar to what Chris mentioned earlier. Once you know you've gone through certain things and you've overcome, it's not to say that things get easier, but I don't find myself fighting the same fight, right? I'll have a different fight on a different level. And so it's definitely worked at each stage in my career. Errol.
Yeah, I would say 2 things that definitely reflect what Chris and Debra have been saying, and you, Marissa. The first thing I'll say is that by deciding that you're interested in this industry, by coming to this chat today, you're already in the right mindset. There will be, though, as we've also mentioned, so many people, maybe hundreds throughout your career of people who will get in your way. They will get in your way. They will compete with you. They will maybe don't like you. They will not offer things to you. Those people already exist, and you just need to factor that in now. What I always tell people is don't be one of them. There are so many people who will bring you down and pull you back. You don't need to be one of them. So facing those fears and overcoming them is the juice. That is the key. And one thing I would highly recommend is, to Debra's point about learning how to swim and facing that challenge, I would highly suggest and recommend that you also pick up a goal, pick up an athletic interest that has nothing to do with journalism and nothing to do with television. Because I know for myself, whether it was running track or strength training, running long distance, I would never run more than a lap in high school. I was a short distance hurdler. But those types of things that I'd never done before put me in an uncomfortable place, put me full of doubt. And then I, with no one else helping me, had to push myself through it. And how does that relate to journalism and broadcasting? Because it's the same mental muscle that you will face doubt. You'll be nervous. You'll feel the butterflies in your stomach. And then you say, you've got this. You can be yourself and you can push through it. And hey, maybe you will stumble. Maybe there will be something inaccurate and you'll correct, you'll pick up, and then you'll move on. So my suggestion to everybody is you're already on the right track. Don't be one of the people who will get in your way throughout your career, and pick up an athletic hobby. No matter what, you'll impress yourself. And that type of life lesson will stay with you forever.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Chris,
Marissa, can I piggyback off of that?
Now.
What he just said, I just want everyone on this to understand how important that was. That if you don't get anything else from anything we've said, think about Sierra picking us as a panel, right? I met her at WABJ. Errol did as well. Now, here's a situation where I see young broadcasters and I'm like, hey, you can do this. I point them out and I tell them it doesn't work out for everyone. In fact, a lot of times I have friends who, get into their 30s and they have not had any on-air experience. Take Monica McNutt, for instance. So many heart-to-heart conversations with her, and she went from not being on any network to being on ESPN in about a year. And she's on every single program that they have. And it's just because she kept that positive energy and she kept that motivation. So I think beyond anything else that we're saying here, that confidence in yourself, no matter how many people are holding you back, because it happens at every single location, at every job I had, I always felt like there was someone who thought, oh, Chris thinks he's better than he is. Well, maybe that's true. That's my confidence. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's on you, because I know that I'm going to the next place and I'm going to crush it when I get there as well. And that's the mentality that you need to have. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent, but when Errol said that, I said, this is the key to everything we're saying right here, the thing that he just said.
Oh yeah, I definitely had praise hands throughout this whole portion, and I'm glad we're moving into this because it's coming right before the questions. And I have one from Crystal Horn. She says, I remember being interviewed by Marissa Mitchell when she was at Fox 5 in Atlanta for a story several years ago. Hi, Crystal. I remember thinking, I wish I could be that confident. And it's interesting that you said that, Crystal, because when I was back home in Atlanta, I actually lost my father after returning home 3 to 4 months. It was sudden. As a matter of fact, it happened close to my homecoming celebration. And so that tried everything in me, and I actually lost a lot of confidence. So sometimes your confidence is not necessarily rooted in what you do, but it can be rooted in what happens to you, what happens in your family, health, other challenges. And it took me going into therapy. And I want to mention therapy. If you are having mental health issues and you need to talk with someone to work it through, I think that's okay. It's okay to do that. And it's okay to not be okay, because we have to be real. This industry can try your mental health, and it does. And so I certainly pulled in and poured into that. But during that course of my life, one therapist told me that she saw me as a bird that was pushed out of the nest and was struggling to fly because the bird didn't have all of its feathers. And I remember asking her, well, how do I get my feathers? And she said, find other things you enjoy doing. To Errol's point and Debra's point, everything in my life up until that point had been journalism, and impressing my parents through journalism and making my parents proud through journalism. And then after losing a parent, it kind of almost reshaped my identity. And I felt like I was starting all over. So I started volunteering, I started getting into different hobbies and dancing, and I found my feathers in other elements of who I am. And then that fostered and rebuilt and honed the journalism. And so I just want to be clear too, that it takes being a whole person and looking at your life holistically in order to do well, even on the job. And so, you know, we're talking about the different tools you can do in terms of prepping for a story or an interview and having mentors, and all of those things are very important, but your health is your wealth. And that includes mental health as well. Do you all have a comment on this before we move to another question?
I mean, I can go on about mental health till the day is long. But I just affirm and honor you for saying that about therapy. I too have found that it's changed my life and made me the strongest I've ever been at this point, and the most confident I've ever been. But really, I'm not walking around going, I'm so strong, I'm so confident. No, what I'm saying is I'm whole. And so I can be whole and be there for other people. And it took getting into therapy, a lot of ups and downs, and some of them related to this business, but don't make this business your whole life. I'm with you. I could go on and on, Marissa. I see your story and my story very similarly.
Yeah, a lot of parallels going on. See, we've all been through stuff. It's a lot behind our stories. We have a question for all. This is also from Crystal. All right. Are there any podcasts or books that have helped you to overcome overthinking or imposter syndrome? That's a great one.
Well, so I actually responded to that in the chat. And here's the thing. If we're going at I'm always seeking books that are not about broadcasting, if that makes sense, right? So Mindset and Grit, I find to be two, blanket covering ones that, like, you read those and you understand. And I think 13 things that mentally strong people don't do. And for me, 12 of the things I felt like, oh, that's me. I don't need this book. And there was the 13th thing that I've struggled with since the day I came into the business. And it's looking at other people, say, oh, they have that job, why not me? The second I stopped doing that and started caring about what I was doing, everything has gone up since then, because I stopped saying, oh, that person went to ESPN, why wasn't I there? Well, I wasn't there because Turner Sports is based in Atlanta, and that's my path, and I love it, and I'm happy for it. So again, I think, grit, mindset, 13 things that mentally strong people don't do. Those are not broadcasting books, but those will help you in this industry.
And I would just highlight, there is a social psychologist called Amy Cuddy. She has this famous TED Talk about the link between your physiology and really how confident you can appear just through physical gesturing and movements. I had watched her TED Talk multiple times, even though I'd seen it, because it was just another angle into confidence, that there was a real scientific, physiological component to, like, if you want to be confident before a meeting, before a negotiation, before anything in which you really want to set forth, real enthusiasm. She's someone who I've followed and watched. And if you all are interested in a very quick watch, I'd recommend Amy Cuddy's TED Talks.
I'm making notes here. And I will tell you, I read the 4 agreements, and I thought to myself, I actually send it to anyone who'll ask. Like, literally, if you're here and you want it, I'll send it to you. I'll Amazon it to you, because I think it's so important. I think it should be required reading for life. I got it when I had a boss who, for whatever reason, decided she didn't like me and made my life difficult. And I was like, oh, okay, I need this book. And, the 4 agreements will set you free from any suffering in your life. And just, Always do your best. Don't take things personally, because most people come to you with their own set of issues. That's why they're saying whatever they're saying or being the way they're being. When I got that, and the way that the book sets it out, really helped me. I realized it had nothing to do with me, how she was being towards me. And I could be free of that instead of being stuck in suffering and victimhood and worrying and going, but it's not fair. Yeah, nobody wins with that. So the 4 agreements.
Excellent. All right. Do you have any recommendations? This is from Jacqueline Fuller. Great question. Do you have any recommendations for people 40 plus who are changing careers to this industry? Debra, and I'll get you other two as well.
You know, I work with people of all ages who want to get into the industry, or, you know, are in the industry and want to move up markets and stuff like that. And I do have a client who is 40 plus and wants to get into this industry. And I tell her what it's like right now. I'd give her everything that she needs to know, what the first job's going to be like. And will it be easy? You know, it's not an age thing. It's, do you want to get paid that amount of money to do your first job in local news? So I set it all out for her. And I think the thing about any age that you are, only get into this business if it is your passion and your purpose. Because otherwise, why are you here? It's not easy. You're going to work an overnight. You're going to be working in the snow. You're going to be carrying a camera. You're not going to see your family on Christmas, you know, whatever, New Year's. So if it is the only thing that you can do, go for it. There's a lot of people we see leaving the industry at this point. And, you know, some of my clients who, you know, paid money to work with me, and who I thought were the most dedicated people, and they've chosen another way because it works for them in their life. And that's okay. But there are opportunities out there because people are leaving. That's kind of the inside tip of what I'm seeing right now, doing what I do. So I feel like, yeah, it's not easy at any age. And the reason why it gets a little bit harder as you get older is money. You know, money, really. They want to pay you, they want to pay a little bit when you're first starting out.
And money certainly talks. Errol and Chris, what are your advice for people entering later in life?
Well, I would just to emphasize what Debra's saying, it is difficult, it's tough, it's challenging. So no matter what age you decide to get into this industry, focus on something you are passionate about, whether that's a region of the country or an angle. If there's anything at 40 plus from your career, bring that to the table. Whatever industry you are working in, even if you think it has nothing to do with journalism, I'm pretty confident there's a component of what you do that will translate some way, shape, or form to the many different roles that you have now in newsrooms, whether it's reporting in the field, from the studio, doing something digital. There is a space for you, but you really have to want it. It's funny, Debra talks about weekends and overnights. I've certainly done them both. And it's, you know, fascinating, Marissa, as you open up about therapy. I had a therapy session today, and part of the discussion was, you know, this has been my entire life since that opportunity when I was 18. This is 20 years I've been doing this. Incredible opportunities, but massive personal sacrifices as well. And now that we've been through this pandemic and we understand a little better how psychologically challenging this job is and how anything can happen. And if you don't have a strong foundation psychologically, you will be more susceptible to depression, which is normal and okay, but to all the other things that can really eat you from the inside. So no matter what age you are, and no matter what place you are in your career, do what you can to focus on what you're passionate about and what you're interested in, even if that's not your current role at the moment, because you'll enjoy it more.
I think I would be redundant if I answered that question, but a lot of things Errol is saying as far as just making sure that whatever you're bringing to the table, because if you're 40 plus, then you have life experiences that you're bringing something to the table that you may not be cognizant of. So make sure you tap into that. But I see a lot of the other questions that I think I might be better answering here.
This one is for Shayna, and whoever wants it can jump in here. I'm working on a school project where we are building a program for Black youth interested in journalism. Right now, we are building the curriculum. Any advice for items to include, and what would be some of the key points to highlight to young people?
Well, I definitely want to raise my hand to that one, right? Because I think when we all started in the business, for sports, for instance, it was go to small market, go to medium market, go regional, then you'll go national, right? I followed that blueprint. Now that is not the case. I think if I'm giving advice to someone that's a teenager or in college right now, understanding the digital side of it, understanding how to edit, understanding audio, all of those things, those different skill sets will get you the opportunity in front of the camera. That's something I'm seeing in younger people who are ahead of the curve. They mastered that, whether they were in high school or college. So when it became an opportunity to be in front of a camera, they got that opportunity before others, because what are you offering? If you want to be in front of a camera, what are you bringing to us that we can use? And a lot of stations now are like, okay, can you shoot? Can you edit? What can you do for us to put you in front of a camera? And that's completely different than when I started in this industry. So that's the number one thing I would say if you're building a curriculum for younger journalists.
Debra, Errol, you want to jump in or you want to move on?
I would just say, pick up your phone and start shooting.
Yep.
Like, everything right here, this is everything you need. That's it. Be out there and give yourself the experience that you need.
Well, you all are even getting kudos from Muhammad Coker. Joining this meeting was one of the best decisions of my life. Y'all are killing it. Thank you. Well, you're killing it for joining us. This is really good. All right, Kaylee, and I hope I'm saying this right, Kaylee Starrell, she asked, if you could go back and give yourself one specific piece of advice as a new journalist, what would it be? I want to hear from all three of you. I would say be yourself.
I like be yourself. One thing I've come up with my friend Melissa Knowles, who works at HLN, is, it's got a nice catchy ringtone to it, protect your peace, which means, as we're all talking about, this job requires really everything of you: to relocate, to be away from family, to be away from friends, to seek out people at their worst moments. It will take a toll on you. From the beginning, understand the value in your serenity, in your peace, and your ability at night to kind of clear your mind, which is easier said than done. If you come into this industry with the mindset of protecting your peace, making sure that when it comes time to the weekend, you can decompress. And if you're having challenges decompressing, seek out help. I mean, I would encourage folks to seek therapy and get that benefit if you can, regardless. They're doing telehealth now. It's more affordable than it's ever been. And it's like, if you want to improve your physical shape, you get a coach. If you want to improve your mental health, you get an expert to help you with that as well. My one big piece of advice would be to protect your peace as you venture on this, what will be an incredible journey for you.
Gosh, I have so many things. Be positive. If people like you, you're going to get more jobs. So, I kind of connected to what Chris was saying, that one thing out of the 13 that you're like, I'm always looking at that person. In the beginning, I did that too. Why did she get that? Why did he get that? And if I have that thought in my head now, which I really don't, I'm going to keep it to myself. Outwardly, I am positive. Keep it going. How are you? How are you? Hi. I say it to everybody. I don't care who you are. I say to people who I don't even know who they are, who are in my ear talking in the IFB. Hi. Hey, how are you? It's not just mic check 1, 2, 3. It's, hey, how are you doing today? Are you having a good day? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got me? I got you. Okay, great. I want to be happy and positive. And I think in the beginning, I was just so scared. I don't want to mess up, but go out and ask people how they are in your newsroom. Like, you can actually make friends and have people advocate for you because you're pleasant. I realized that in the beginning, I was either just too scared or worried.
Yeah, I think for me, I have a way of looking at it, maybe from if you want to say a quarterback or a point guard, right? And you're supposed to read what's happening, watch, observe, and then attack it. And for me, when I'm not working, like if I'm off, I'm reading about sports. Then I'm watching programming and I'm observing what other people are doing that they're doing well. And then when it's my turn, I attack it with a vigor that I think is above what they're doing, right? That's kind of how I view it. So you're going to get an opportunity. When you get your opportunity, what makes you the best? Like, why should they choose you when there are so many talented people out there? And that's how I approach every single day. If I go to work and I feel like I'm operating at a 7 because I worked 12 hours the day before, I'm focused on getting rest. If I got a lot of rest the day before, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to work out before I go in so that I get my energy together. Whatever it is, again, Errol's been saying this, that makes you your best and gets your mental health in the right place, then do that thing. If you have habits that are making you not 100%, you got to get rid of those.
Yeah, eat well, get sleep, surround yourself with positive people, and also celebrate yourself, celebrate your wins. Even if you're not where you want to be, each step is important. This is from Nakia Simon. I actually know Nakia. She just got a reporter job a month ago in a different market outside of the DMV. Her question is, either of you can take it. When is it time to roll with the punches? And when is it time to speak up for yourself when moving to a different market or station? Chris, I see you.
Well, so I just had a breakdown with the producer from my summer league play-by-play, and I struggled with it because I just rolled with the punches. And when it came to my review, he said, hey, you tossed to this package during the halftime report and this kid's mother died. And you were just like, oh, he and his mom. And I'm like, the producer didn't tell me that his mother had passed. And I kind of went with it in an exuberant way, and it was definitively the wrong way to go. He's like, well, did you tell anyone? I'm like, no. He's like, you need to speak up in that situation. But for me, a lot of times I'm trying so hard not to ruffle feathers, and it made me look bad because at the end of the day, I'm the one who's on air. So I think that's a constant struggle. I don't know if there's an answer to that, because you're trying to build relationships, but you're also not trying to be foolish when you're out there. So I think you have to take that case by case, relationship by relationship, and make sure you're handling it accordingly. I don't think there's a specific answer to that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Errol, I see you nodding.
Well, only because it's something I deal with to this day. And if you would have taken me 20 years ago, I was all about rolling with the punches. I remember keep saying, I'm so lucky to be here. It's so improbable that you get selected of all the applicants, you get the job, and then your contract gets re-signed, and then you get to another network. Wait, more than one person likes me? I was so thankful to be in the space, and there were so few people who looked and sounded like I did that I thought, let me not rock the boat. And as I've moved throughout my career, I just keep having these moments where I'm like, Chris and Debra speak about the comparison issue of like, why did that person get it? One thing I've realized is any anchor that you watch, any person that you see in that golden position, they all had a first day where they had never done that job in that market, in that role before. It happened with me with every step of my career. When I got to CNN, I had never done live television. Everything at Channel 1 was pre-recorded. But I did that anchoring and reporting, and it improved. When I came to CBS, I had never covered DC politics or a president, kind of like to Debra's point, but you learn and you grow. And so because it's your face, because it's your voice, and because it's your mental health on the line, you absolutely must learn to flex that muscle, strengthen that muscle in standing up for yourself. When we talk about how can you be confident in front of the camera, it's difficult to be confident if you've got conflict with the producer. You can't be confident if you're fighting with the cameraman or woman. You can't be confident if every one of your pitches gets denied, but then you see another correspondent do the story. So you must advocate for yourself better than your agent. I mean, if I was doing something else, I'd love to be an agent because I know how to go toe to toe with an executive producer and management. You must strengthen that. You must not hide behind your agent because no one will advocate for you better than you will. But we don't want to rock the boat. We want to be polite. There is a way to do both, to kind of put your foot down, to kind of be friendly with your colleagues, but to say, look, in order for me to do well and for us to look good, I'm going to need this to settle, or whatever the issue may be. You can always approach things positively, but you must advocate for yourself.
But that's newsroom culture and politics, and that's where so many people struggle, right? They know how to do the job, but not how to work the room. So, Debra, how do you do that?
3 words: trust your gut. Trust your gut. Your gut's never wrong. Never has been wrong. I worked local news here, and I had 2 news directors who loved me, one who recruited me, one who promoted me, and then the third one hated me. Did I change? No, I was me. But I knew that guy didn't like me. I knew that. And as opportunities would come up, I would be passed over for them. And so, to Nakia's specific question of, when do you roll with the punches? You got to speak up when your gut says this is wrong. Now, in that situation, that's one situation. Let's say, you're working with a photographer and the photographer doesn't want to shoot something, or I'm just coming up with things off the top of my head, so forgive me, or says something that you don't feel right with. What I would do is I'm always in the relationship business. So I'm always trying to make people happy and feel heard and be positive. And so, I would be already working on that relationship with that photographer, but I would say, hey, I just got to share with you this that you said. It's not okay with me. And I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I want to let you know so that you know where the line is with me. And I have this ability that I've worked on of being positive, but telling you how it is, telling you what I need to tell you. And so I think you don't have to be combative when you tell people things, but if my gut is telling me that, there you go. Now, when I had this boss who didn't like me, my gut knew it the whole time. I rolled with the punches. Well, I ended up leaving because I knew this wasn't going to work out for me. And it's very hard to take that step. I could have continued to stay there and roll with the punches, but I wouldn't be where I am now. So I'm really happy that I trusted my gut. Your gut will never tell you wrong. Never tell you wrong. Just know that you can have any conversation by using the right way of communicating to get the right result. You really can. There's no way that let me back that up. There's ways to use your words specifically to get the desired result and to express what you need to express without offending people. And if they are offended at that point, well, screw them.
Amen. And pick your battles too, because sometimes it's just not worth it. Okay. We have get this last question in from Courtney, and then I want to go around and have you all give your final, takeaway. Maybe there was something you wanted to say that we didn't get a question about or that I didn't ask, and I want to give you the opportunity to share. She asked, I'm confident in interviewing, putting the package together, all that stuff. But when I do live shots, I struggle with confidence. How do I get better with going live?
My quick bit of advice would be to not think about yourself and think about the story you're about to tell. So what makes us kind of get nervous in a live shot is the camera's on us, the lights are on us, someone's in our ear, and we can almost feel people watching. If you flip it around a bit and think, well, look, what is my story about? There's 3 points that this person said to me that I think are really important. Just think about that. And a piece of advice I would give is imagine just one person on the other side of the camera you're speaking to. Someone in your family who maybe doesn't follow the news very well, someone you know, but you're explaining the story to just them. That for me helps me get around this. Okay, millions of people are watching, and if I flub one word, you may flub a word. Let yourself flub a word. Catch yourself, pick up, keep going, and think about the story and less about yourself at that moment.
I think that's great advice. And I told a story earlier about my first live shot and how it just tanked. And that's something that I attacked because I knew I just was awful at live shots and I didn't know how to get better. And here's where it clicked for me. So I covered Virginia Tech football. And again, my live shots for like a year or two, I just couldn't figure it out. And we were live at a game. And what happened is there's a crowd behind us, a crowd in front of us. And I started to see the fans and I literally started to just talk to them. I didn't read the script anymore. I was looking at the camera, but I was like, what do they want to hear? And the second I did that, it's just worked since. When I go live at the top of a show, I say, hey, everybody, I'm here with you. I'm here talking to you as we're talking right now. I just happen to be on television. Okay. And when you get to that point, it takes practice, it takes dedication. But when it does click, you'll be as confident and as comfortable as the thing that I can see from your question is that you have opportunities. So make the most of those opportunities, just stay with it and try to find that place that works for you.
And no one knows the story more than you do in most cases. So have confidence in that. Debra, did you want to say anything on this? And then we're going to do a round robin here of final words.
Yeah, real quick. What happens is we write a live shot. So you're there with your computer, you're writing a live shot. And what you're doing is you're writing the written word. So you're writing a full sentence and maybe there's a comma in your sentence. If you're doing that, you're setting yourself up for failure in that live shot because that's not how you talk. So just note, take that live shot and break it down to the smallest little nugget. Like when I said earlier, trust your gut. That could have been a live shot. I got 3 words for you, Nora. Trust your gut. Like, you know, like that could be a live shot. Like you just keep it really short. Because if you've got yourself a comma, then you're trying to memorize the rest of that sentence. That's not how you talk. You want to make your live shot how you talk. And I will kid around in my live shots and say things like, we have a saying here at the White House. It's been a long week. And we say that on Monday. And we say that on Tuesday. And we say that on Wednesday. And then the anchors start laughing a little bit because I'm just having some fun with them. But if I was to write that down, I'd never remember it. It's just, you got to talk to people and keep it short.
All right, final words, Debra, Errol, Chris, in that order. And thank you so much for joining us. We love the comments and I'm so glad that you are getting really good stuff out of it. Good feedback.
This is for everyone who has made the time to be here. You are doing the thing. By being here, you're investing in yourself and you are the best investment you can make. 100%. So just know that you've got what it takes and the universe does not allow you to have dreams that it won't deliver on. You're in the right place. Keep walking forward, keep walking towards your goal and be positive and don't gossip. Okay, because it happens in newsrooms. I want to talk about that person. Gossip is an assassination attempt by a coward. That's an Oprahism. Like you talk long enough and you'll get Oprahisms all the time. Like be that positive person who is there to fulfill your purpose and don't worry about what he said and she's got and just keep on going. Your path forward. You've got this.
Some people are professional gossipers, but I'm going to leave that alone. We don't have the time. Errol, we don't have the time.
Yeah, look, I would piggyback on what Debra said there, in that everyone in this space already has the right mindset. You have the interest, the ambition, you're pulling from resources, and that's really all it takes. The learning never ends. The challenges will never end. So please make sure you're kind of directed toward the light, things that bring you joy, things that make you happy. I mean, think about all of our stories. None of them are the same. No 2 journalists have the exact same strategy and path in life, and things will always surprise you. So be ready for that. And that's why I've just tried to emphasize during this conversation, and based on the comments, you know, the moments that we opened up and said something quite personal seems to be the things that people really respond to. So your imperfections, things that maybe you're not so proud of, wear those with a sense of pride. Bring that into the world, because none of us are going through this journey knowing everything and doing it unscathed. I do think you should protect your peace. I'm so thankful to Sierra and Marissa, you guys, for putting this together and including me with Chris and Debra. This has been a real pleasure. And if there's nothing else people learn from this, I just want you to know you absolutely can do it. This is something that you will be successful in if you put in the effort and the hours, but protect your peace and your soul in the meantime.
Yeah, those are some poignant words. I would say this, since this is about confidence, have a delusional belief in your abilities until they become true. Meaning people, I don't know what it is about this business, but people are going to say, yeah, he's okay, but they're not as good. You're not as good as you think you are. Like, people are always going to try to knock you down that peg. I don't know why they do it, but you need to have that confidence in yourself, your own self-esteem, to think, yes, I am going to be the best at whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it's a live shot, whether it's anchoring, you know, the 6 or 11 o'clock news. If you're a reporter, getting the opportunity to anchor more often, you have to be the first one to believe in yourself at a place where it seems like it's delusional until it becomes a reality. And then once it's your reality, everyone reacts to you being in that space. That's the thing. Once you do it, everyone respects you in that way, but you have to be the first one to get it done. So that would be the last thing that I would say to you. Sierra, thank you for inviting me. Marissa, you did a great job. Errol, it was great to meet you. Debra, same to you. For everyone that's joined us today, I really appreciate your time and listening to the advice that we have.
No, you all are so profound. Chris, I like to call that crazy faith. It doesn't make sense to anybody else but you. And
The
it's
Kanye
supposed
mind,
to.
the Kanye mind.
Yeah, it's your journey. They're not supposed to get it, right? They're not supposed to understand. It's not for them. Thank you all so much. I want to get this housekeeping note in. WABJ meets for a membership meeting next week. We will also have our WABJ picnic at the Reach at the Kennedy Center, October 24th at noon. If you want more details, reserve your spot, all that good stuff, WABJDC.org. This has been a pleasure, Sierra. Bless you. I think this was so needed. You can see that judging by the feedback we received, the number of participants, and I hope that you all, will this be made available somewhere, a link to this conversation? It would be
There
good if
will
it
be
can
a
be
recording of
shared.
this. It should be posted. I'll send out a link. It should be on our YouTube channel, WABJ. Wow, I won't keep you guys much longer, but I just want to say you all have motivated me. And I know you have inspired every single person who has been listening to this. And I just want to make it clear to our audience, we are seriously listening to some of the best in our industry. And I have to say, just take a look at each and every one of them. I want to say I really appreciate your guys' professionalism. Just take a look at how everyone is presenting themselves. They showed up. They're taking this seriously. And I think that also has to do with confidence. You have to show up. And as my mom always said growing up, be ready, not trying to get ready. And I just want to leave you all with this. Never let anyone dull your sparkle. I also just want to go around to the panelists and moderator. Please say your Twitter and Instagram so people can follow you, because people want to keep track of what you guys are doing. Clearly, everyone loves each of you.
Guess I'll start.
Marissa, you can go.
Yeah, just Marissa Mitchell. If you search my name on Instagram, it's Mitchell, but no vowels. But if you type Marissa Mitchell, I'll pop up. Marissa Mitchell. And Marissa M. Fox 5 on Twitter. And
Debra.
Marissa Mitchell on TikTok. So just search my name, you'll find me.
For me, it's the same. It's just Errol Barnett on all platforms.
Yeah, and I'm Debra Alfarone on all platforms. And I actually have a post that kind of mirrors what Chris said about, be like crazy confident about how much you believe in yourself. That's a paraphrase, but it's like when you said that, I'm like, damn, that's going to be posting on my Instagram in the morning. Follow me there.
Oh man, well that's great that great minds think alike. Mine is at Chris Miles TV on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm late to social media, so I don't tweet often, but I promise you it's good content when I do.
Again, well, thank you all so much for your time, both the panelists and moderator. Debra, Chris, Marissa, and Errol, I appreciate you all so much. And thank you so much to the audience. Before we go, I do want to plug my station, Fox 5. We are looking for a producer. If you are interested or know someone who is, reach out to me directly and I will link you up with all the details. They're looking for someone who has mid-market experience. So just reach out. Never know, this could be the job for you. Again, thank you all so much and have a confident week. Believe in yourselves. You got this.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you.